Married for 12 years, I've always had my husband's back, but it's hard to stand strong when he lets his mother shout at him. Then I started crushing on my cousin's long-term friend, Cecil, who's made me feel more alive than I have in years. You're a silver fox, I joked, and I don't like sober you. Now, as I obsess over our next concert trip, I can't help but wonder what would happen if he kissed me. Am I leading us both into trouble? I apologize for the length of the story, but the only way to accurately describe this situation is by providing complete background information. I have been with my partner since our late teenage years. It was love at first sight. We practically moved in together at my parents' house within a week, and 9 months into our relationship, we rented a flat together. We would have described each other as soulmates. After a few years together, we got married and have now been married for 9 years, totaling 12 years together. Throughout this time, there was only one occasion when we felt the relationship was not working, and that was when we had our son 7.5 years ago. Both of us did not want to stay in the relationship, but after a single conversation, the issue was resolved and we never looked back. Our relationship improved significantly from that point, and we even had a second baby. My husband and I have only been intimate with each other. For some context, just before we got married, we lived with his mother because we did not have much money at the time, and it was possibly the worst decision ever. She is extremely difficult to live with, really miserable, and complains about everything. The entire family feels this way, not just me. Back then, my partner stood by my side and told her to her face that he would always choose me, which was quite brave of him, especially since she had a somewhat abusive influence on him while he was growing up. She eventually became nicer for a brief period, but to fast forward many years, we now have our own home and our own life. She barely helps us with her grandchildren at all, despite the fact that she received all the help in the world from her parents, and both of our kids have special needs. If anything, she adds to our burden from time to time. Recently, she spoke to my husband rudely over the phone, yelling at him while he was trying to help her move. He felt really down about it all day, and this type of incident has been frequent, which I detest because it makes him sad. I sent her a polite message asking her not to criticize him when he is only trying to help, especially since we have a lot going on. She reacted explosively, and we ended up having a long argument via messages, which concluded with me blocking her. After that, she began calling him repeatedly to rant about me, and I advised him to either not answer the phone or hang up. But he continued to engage with her again and again, enduring her abuse while still agreeing to help her move days later. She consistently made him feel awful all day, while she barely lifted a finger to assist, and her youngest son, who is 18, did not help at all either. The youngest is clearly her favorite. My partner lacks assertiveness, which affects every aspect of his life even more now. It makes me wonder where the man who defended me the day before our wedding went, which can be very frustrating for me, especially since I am always supportive of him. Our two children have additional needs, and our eldest child has a combination of multiple needs, making each day chaos. There is frequent hitting directed at me, kicking the furniture, and constant high-pitched screaming throughout the day, which hurts our ears and leads to headaches. Only one person on my side of the family provides us with respite. No one on my partner's side helps at all. My partner struggles with our eldest child, often yelling at him and becoming overly angry, which reminds me of his mother, something I dislike. This approach does not help our eldest and only worsens the situation, yet I understand that he does not possess my level of patience. I fully recognize that we both have less desirable traits inherited from our parents. For instance, I tend to binge drink approximately twice a week, like my mother. However, the difference is my mother was abusive while intoxicated, whereas my drinking helps me unwind and makes an incredibly difficult situation more manageable. I am acutely aware that it is not healthy and that I should not indulge, but I derive a lot of happiness from it, and it genuinely helps me cope on those particularly challenging days when I can hardly believe how difficult things have become. It calms my racing heart, which often accelerates due to stress. Furthermore, my parents allowed me to drink from a very young age and glamorized it, so it is somewhat miraculous that I am not in a worse situation, especially given the challenges I faced in life and the abuse I experienced growing up. This hardship has instilled in me a great deal of empathy and care for children, as I would never want them to feel the way my siblings and I did. For anyone interested, I generally do not experience hangovers, so the next day I feel completely fine and take the kids out, which they enjoy and makes their behavior easier to manage. If my drinking became detrimental to them, or if I could not maintain my responsibilities, I would stop immediately. My rule is simple. If drinking negatively impacts any part of your life to the extent that you cannot function, you stop. Moving on to my partner's anger, lack of assertiveness, and his tendency to not listen to me very much. He is often distracted by his phone or gaming, and I find it extremely frustrating that I have to remind him multiple times daily to lock doors after he has been in certain rooms for safety reasons regarding our children. I cannot be the sole person responsible for remembering everything related to the kids, my responsibilities, and his. My mind is always busy, and it feels unfair. Despite these issues, do not misunderstand me, he is a genuinely good husband. He works a lot, contributes financially to family needs. We frequently take the kids out together. He adores me, he is exceptional in bed, and he can be incredibly funny. I would just like him to communicate more with me. However, he has never been much of a talker, and it has now reached the point where if a family member of his encounters a significant health issue, he forgets to inform me even after I have asked him about it. Then, I find out from someone else, and he insists he thought he had already told me, which happens with a lot of important matters. A few years ago, my husband reconnected with my cousin, with whom I was close some years back, and they began spending time together. This led to my cousin also spending time with both of us, and I cherished the resumed bond that my cousin and I had established years ago. We ensure to spend time together at least once a week, and I am grateful to my husband for reintroducing him into my life. My cousin enjoys drinking and he has a drink daily but does not overindulge. He is the kindest person, both sober and intoxicated, and he also experienced an abusive upbringing with his father. Recently, my cousin asked if his long-term friend could attend one of my house parties. I agreed as I had known him from my youth and he had helped with the food at my wedding. He, too, is an exceptionally nice person. After this party, my cousin and his friend, let's call him Cecil, started coming around together more frequently. One day, I began to see Cecil in a different light. At first, I thought little of it and we went to a concert together with my cousin and my husband. My crush on Cecil ultimately faded, but then I encountered him again at my house and I quickly realized that the crush was back in full force. After having a few drinks, I told Cecil he was cooler than my cousin. Though deep down I wanted to express my feelings for him, something I recognized was inappropriate in front of my cousin, especially since I am married, and Cecil has been in a long-term relationship for at least 20 years. This joking nature became a running gag between us, with my cousin referring to me as a savage. As time passed, I assisted my cousin in finding a new place after he had been living in an uninhabitable building for years and helped him move. This allowed me to see Cecil several times in a week. I went out of my way to help my cousin remove items from his old residence, partly to help and partly because I knew Cecil would be there and might offer to drive me home for an opportunity to converse one-on-one and assess whether we connected as well as I thought. Our conversations consisted of typical topics related to music, nothing significant. However, while moving my cousin, I struggled with a bookshelf and despite having injured his back, Cecil came over to assist me. When we were in such close proximity, I felt tension and I thought it best to walk away. However, I made sure he was all right before doing so. Cecil is wonderful with my children whenever he visits. Although he is not a father himself, he dedicates hours to making them laugh and has the patience of a saint. He is also never glued to his phone, unlike many in our generation. The recent move has led to me spending more time with both my cousin and Cecil, and we have become a tight-knit group. We have gone out together 3 Saturdays in a row, as my partner has been happy to babysit the kids so that we both can enjoy some time alone. While my partner had a night out with colleagues, mine involved going out with friends. On our first Saturday night, our time was filled with typical conversations, and while I had moments alone with Cecil, they remained completely innocent, although some intoxicated woman approached us and accused me and Cecil of being a couple and leaving our kids at home. It was bizarre but also amusing. On the second Saturday, Cecil invited me to play pool with him, and we laughed together while engaging in games with other people. I spent the entire night conversing with Cecil and my cousin. At one point, I sat in the middle and Cecil moved closer to me, perhaps to hear us better over the music, but I cannot help but wonder if he wanted to be nearer to me. On our way back to my cousin's home, the three of us shared laughter, and at one point as we walked, Cecil placed his arm around me in a light-hearted, jovial manner. Despite knowing it probably did not mean much, my heart raced at the moment, as many people do this when intoxicated. That night, Cecil stayed in the spare room at my cousin's house while I took my cousin's room and he slept on the sofa. My room was adjacent to Cecil's, and I could not help but fantasize that he might come into my room and kiss me. However, that did not happen and I eventually fell asleep. The following day, I left before anyone awoke as my husband picked me up. Both of us are early risers because of the kids and we took them out. The following Saturday proved to be exciting. My cousin called to inform me that Cecil would be at the bar by 7 and he expected to arrive around 7:30. My partner kindly dropped me off at the bar at 7 where I met Cecil and we chatted for a while without any flirtation. I had yet to grab a drink when Cecil offered to buy me one, insisting that he did not want to drink alone. There was no reason to perceive any ulterior motives in this gesture. Throughout the night, we took turns buying each other drinks. Cecil, a genuinely nice guy, has a history of giving not only to my cousin but also to my husband. After a fun-filled evening, my cousin suggested I sit in the bench area with them as we were shouting over the table to hear one another. Cecil moved closer, allowing me to sit beside him. Throughout the evening, our legs brushed against each other. While we were seated closely, there was no reason to think it was significant, yet it was incredibly distracting for me and made my heart race. Cecil, who has owned a bar for most of his life, poured pints into one glass, asserting that he was an excellent pourer without a single drop wasted. As he grew merrier, he spilled a drink on himself, prompting teasing from us, only for him to subsequently spill another drink that began dribbling onto me. I quipped, "Damn you, Cecil, just because you look like you wet yourself does not mean you have to do the same to me." He replied, "I didn't get it on your crotch." While pointing to his jeans, showing the beer mark, and then motioned to indicate how it did not even touch me. I responded, "I don't think you should be looking at my crotch, Cecil." We all laughed, and the topic turned to our stay at my cousin's the previous week, prompting Cecil to tease me about snoring for 4 minutes before it went silent. I joked, "Why are you monitoring my snoring, Cecil?" And my cousin chimed in, "Why are you timing her?" We all erupted in laughter. Throughout the night, certain amusing topics were repeated, and I have a strong memory, so when something contradictory surfaced, I brought it up as part of our banter. Cecil jokingly remarked, "I don't like sober you, you're evil." He then offered to buy me a bottle of wine, suggesting that the drink would help bring out my more fun side. While I recognize the humor in this, I believe he genuinely wanted to buy me a bottle of wine because he is aware that it is my preferred drink over beer. I had chosen to stick with beer during the night because it allows me to remain sober longer, and I do not want to place them in a position where they have to care for me, thus keeping the round buying equal. His offer felt meaningful to me, given his kindness, and I interpreted it as genuinely knowing my preferences. However, I declined since he is currently unemployed after owning a bar for so long. He has been responsible with his money, refraining from going out for years, and now that his house is paid for, he wants to enjoy life again, but he will need to seek work again in a couple of months. Since I am financially stable, there was no way I would allow him to buy me that. Once the pub closed, we went out for food. I may have briefly held onto Cecil's arm while walking to the fish and chip shop. It felt natural and he allowed me to do so. Inside the shop, while my cousin had gone outside for a cigarette, I do not recall every detail of our conversation as we were both somewhat tipsy and having fun. However, I remember Cecil expressing feelings of being old, to which I responded that age is just a number. When I converse with him, share interests, and experience all the joy we have together, I do not perceive him as old at all. As the conversation continued, I referred to him as a silver fox, which seemed to surprise him and likely gave his ego a little boost. I was unaware that my remark could be construed as flirtation until after analyzing the situation later on and realizing it genuinely was flirty. Notably pleased, he opened his arms and I happily embraced him. He also mentioned wanting to pay for my fish and chips and the taxi ride home. I jokingly responded, "Cecil, you are already paying for my taxi home. You cannot also buy me dinner." We were to share the taxi as we live on the same side of town, and my cousin asked him to ensure I arrived home safely. Cecil explained that he truly wished to treat me, but being the independent woman that I am, I insisted on paying for my own items. He ultimately agreed to cover the taxi fare while I paid for my food. We completed the transaction and shared a taxi together. My cousin saw us off as he resides on the opposite side of town. Cecil sat in the back with me and we spent the entire ride chatting and laughing, genuinely having the best time. When we reached my house, I was slightly disappointed as I wished that taxi ride could have lasted forever. I said my goodbyes to Cecil, leaned in for a hug, and attempted to kiss him on the cheek. He reciprocated, yet we somewhat missed and only kissed the air. In a sexy, slightly deep but gentle voice that drives me wild, he said, "Moi." I returned home feeling happier than ever, unable to stop thinking about him. I did not feel guilty, instead I felt excited. I was tipsy, and what occurred was beyond my expectations, especially since it has always been incredibly rare for someone other than my husband to potentially have feelings for me. Knowing it is someone I like intensifies the experience. Now I cannot stop contemplating the next time I will see him and what might happen. I genuinely believe he may have feelings for me too, but perhaps it is all in my imagination. Following that night, I have become almost obsessed with the Taylor Swift song "Guilty as Sin," as it perfectly captures my feelings towards Cecil. In my mind, we have already shared a kiss, and I am eagerly anticipating our next encounter, even though nothing has actually occurred. Despite the lack of any clear action between us, I cannot help but feel guilt toward my wonderful husband and wonder if Cecil is experiencing similar feelings or if I am simply fabricating the entire scenario. Additionally, there is an upcoming concert in a few months where Cecil, my cousin, and I will be staying in a hotel with separate rooms. I cannot shake the thought of whether something will happen between Cecil and me during that time. At this juncture, I would not initiate the first move because of the potential humiliation of being wrong and jeopardizing our group dynamic. However, if Cecil were to kiss me, I would absolutely kiss him back. That said, I would not sleep with him immediately, as I am not that type of person, though I understand that this does not necessarily make it any better. For those who believe I should refrain from spending time with my cousin and Cecil, I assure you that this is easier said than done. Prior to their arrival in my life, I seldom saw anyone due to my children and their additional needs. No one bothered to visit. I felt secluded and isolated, leading to feelings of depression. Spending time with them has been revolutionary for my mental health, and I do not want to fall back into that dark place. Furthermore, I refuse to suggest that my cousin and I stop going out with Cecil, as they are best friends who have known each other for longer than I have been alive. They are both among the kindest people in the world, and I cannot forget that my feelings could all be in my head. I want to clarify that I am not seeking a stepfather for my kids, nor do I necessarily desire for my marriage to end. At this moment, I wish to see how things progress with Cecil. If they do not work out, I am confident we would remain friends. This may sound foolish, but I believe he is genuinely a nice person, and apart from this situation, I consider myself a kind and pragmatic individual. I do not intend to disrupt anyone's life. I do not want to hurt my husband or Cecil's partner, who is also a nice person, and I would never allow anyone to speak poorly of Cecil if things do not work out just because of our age difference. Ultimately, I am a grown woman in my 30s, fully aware of my actions, and I have taken the initiative to spend time alone with him. So please be honest with me. Am I a horrible person in this situation? Are anyone else's actions questionable? Is there anything about my circumstances that makes any of my feelings or actions acceptable? Do you believe that Cecil has developed feelings for me as well, or is it all in my imagination because I am a romantic person with a vibrant imagination, a trait that often complicates my feelings for someone? What would you all do if you were in my position? Story 2. My boyfriend's gaming and lies are keeping me up at night, but when I ask him to stop, he just shrugs and says, "You're being dramatic." 5 months later, after countless requests, I'm exhausted. Is this abuse or just his inner man-child? I want to be direct from the start. I do not intend to end my relationship with him, and I do not appreciate being told that the answer is to break up with him. Although I am certain that many people will suggest that this is the first significant you need to change moment in our relationship, and I genuinely want to address it rather than give up, because I truly care for my boyfriend. That does not mean I won't consider it if things continue like this. I simply want to make an effort to resolve the issues at hand. For now, I will refer to him by the pseudonym Thor. For context, I have severed contact with my biological family for a variety of reasons. My mother has passed away, as has my stepfather. A series of events occurred within the span of 2 years, and as of December 2024, I followed my boyfriend from the southern states to the northernmost states to be with his family and pursue better job opportunities, which we both secured, thankfully. His family is wonderful. Thor and his siblings were all in foster care, and his mother and father are incredibly generous individuals. They provided us with an SUV to share for commuting to work until we could afford to reimburse them, which we have done, and purchased an RV for the two of us to stay in their yard. We are still repaying them. Initially, everything was fantastic, as it often is. We got along well and supported each other. Thor began his new job before I did, so I managed our household on my own. He was considerate of me just as I was with him. I believe the dynamics began shifting when I started my job about 4 weeks ago. My work hours are from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. from Monday to Friday, while Thor's schedule consists of 4 consecutive days of work followed by 4 days off. This means he is awake during most of the hours that I am asleep, except for 2 days when our sleep schedules align. For the past 4 weeks, he has gradually adopted increasingly immature behaviors. To put it simply, he is home more often than I am and does not contribute to cleaning. I clean when I return home. I often find him gaming all day, and while I usually do not mind and sometimes join him, he does nothing else and continues to play late into the night, being loud and disturbing my sleep when I need to wake up early for my hour-long commute to work. The pay is absolutely worth it, so that is not a concern. Throughout this time, I have remained considerate of him. I do not claim to be the perfect girlfriend. I am aware that I am not. I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, suffer from hyperinsomnia, and occasionally have periods where I struggle to manage myself. He has only requested that I refrain from doing 2 things during our entire relationship, and I immediately complied with both requests. He asked me to stop pointing out when he picks at a bald spot on his beard, as it is a habit of his, and I have not mentioned it in the 2 months since. He also asked me not to touch certain snacks or drinks of his, and I have respected that boundary since we first moved in together. I do my best for both of us, so why is he suddenly behaving inconsiderately without warning? Why has he changed so unexpectedly? Everything I am about to discuss has been addressed with him multiple times, often several times in one night. It may come off as nagging to some, but I should not have to repeatedly ask him to stop behaving in ways that prevent me from sleeping, especially when I have, even his family can see, made extra efforts on his behalf. To add to my concerns, my job requires me to take a hearing test, and unsurprisingly, my hearing is quite sharp. If anything, consider this just me venting, because at least that provides me with a semblance of control. In summary, he is disrupting my sleep for various reasons. If it is not one issue, it is another. I am exhausted, I have not been sleeping, I am fatigued. I already suffer from insomnia, and just as I begin to drift off, he does something that wakes me up. Thor shakes the RV. I do not mind when people bounce their legs. I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder myself and have my own fidgety habits. However, I do mind when he does it in the RV. He is a very strong man and the entire structure shakes like an earthquake to the extent that his family has bluntly asked if we are engaging in inappropriate activities. I requested that he stops doing this while we are in the RV. Does he comply? No, I have to keep reminding him. I even recorded a video of myself sitting in my room showing how the whole place shakes. Has anything changed? No. He plays videos on his phone at full volume. Our RV has only one room with him occupying the front and me in the back. There is merely a thin cardboard door between us. I utilize a white noise machine and he plays his phone over it at maximum volume. His phone is old and produces a very tinny sound. It defaults to full volume, which sounds terrible, hurts my ears, and keeps me awake. This is another issue I have asked him to address multiple times. After 4 weeks, he should be able to anticipate that I would ask him to lower the volume so I can sleep. So why does he maintain it at full volume and act exasperated when I have to request him to turn it down? He is doing it even now as I type this. He plays video games all night. Thor uses my computer monitor for gaming. He uses my game controller, my lap desk, my headphones, and my microphone. For 4 weeks, I have repeatedly asked him every night to keep the volume down. I should not have to be trying to go to bed at 10 p.m. and getting up numerous times until 2 a.m. to remind him to stop shouting. He insists that he is not being loud, but he very much is. I have been startled awake many times by his yelling help to his teammates. The first few times frightened me because I thought he was genuinely in need of assistance. I would rush out of bed and burst through the door, only to find him looking at me as though I am the one causing disruption. It does not stop and I am weary. I have spoken to him many times. I have requested that he stop numerous times, yet he persists in the same behaviors. It is impacting my sleep. I have communicated this to him. It is affecting my mental health. I have also conveyed this to him. I even spoke with his mother in hopes that she could provide support, and while she attempted to exercise a maternal authority, that has not produced any results either. I love him, but I am very close to ending things for my own well-being, which would create a host of other issues. The final concern is something that has been going on for a bit longer than the noise-related issues, and I know it may give some people discomfort, and it makes me uncomfortable too, but the positive aspects of our relationship outweighed the negatives until now. He continues to touch my breasts and butt during every hug, despite my requests for him to ask for permission. It sounds inappropriate and it feels inappropriate. I want him to stop doing this. I want him to let me sleep. However, we are 5 months into a relationship that I believe we have invested significant effort into, and I want to try and make him understand before I choose to end it. I also keep catching him in small lies. I was aware of this tendency before we began dating, as it stemmed from his experiences as a foster child and is a trauma response from his past. However, these lies are accumulating and are so trivial. For instance, I went to retrieve gummy worms that I had put in the fridge as a reward for completing a task at home that I found particularly unappealing, only to discover them gone, with the empty bag still inside. No one else was home except him, yet he insists he did not consume them. He bought plum wine for my birthday and told his family that it was a gift he received for free, which confused them when I later mentioned the price. He claimed it was a wine he intended to share with the entire family, which I was all right with, and we planned to open it together. When we finally went to open it, we found that it had already been unsealed and appeared to have a couple of shot glasses worth of wine missing. He was the only one near it. It was unopened when we received it, and he insists he did not drink any. Nonetheless, he was the only one who had access to it. And there are various other minor lies. If anyone has any advice on how to handle this situation, I would greatly appreciate it. I am extremely tired and I would like to resolve this issue. Edit, if anything, I intend to share this post and the comments with him. Is this a form of abuse, or could he be trying to manipulate me into being the one to end the relationship? I want to clarify, if this continues, I will not remain in this relationship for my entire life. My statement of I do not intend to break up with him is relevant to the present while we can still explore solutions. If he refuses to compromise, then that is the end, and I will face the consequences of breaking up with him. Story 3. My older sister cut me off because of her jealousy. You're jobless and annoying, she ranted. I cried for days but moved on, supported by friends. Now I laugh at her outburst. Why can't she understand I'm thriving? I blocked her and found my peace. What's next? So last year in November, my older sister, 30 years old female, cut me off 20 years old female. This situation began over a foolish argument that she not only initiated but could only be described as a rant fueled by emotions. She veered off on about 10 different tangents, ranging from my enjoyment of K-pop boy groups to our parents not hating me for being gay, to her calling me a jobless loser to saying my major is worthless. If you believe this argument sounds completely disconnected, you would be correct. There was nothing coherent in her bizarre and lengthy message to me. She simply fabricated a myriad of falsehoods about me and my college life, then became angry about them. Rather than seeking updates about my life, she opted to create fantasies in her mind and get upset with me for them. I believe she is envious because it seems she is using me as a means to deflect from the things she dislikes about her own life. You do not have a job or pay bills. The reason I do not is that I attend college full-time. Our entire family shares expenses, and I understand that we are financially struggling. I choose not to work because my college studies have consumed my life, and I genuinely cannot balance work with the amount of academic responsibilities I have. My sister paid her own bills while attending college. I am, of course, saddened by this because she should not have had to shoulder that burden, but we were extremely poor, and she was compelled to take on financial responsibilities at 19. You do not have any aspirations other than attending college to pursue a meaningless degree you do not care about. I do not understand how this is a flaw of mine. Before I recently changed my major, I was studying textile marketing. This is not a trivial degree. It would have guaranteed me a job, I just did not find satisfaction in it. Additionally, my sister cannot criticize me because she despised her major in college and now dislikes her job, which involves designing cabinets for a living. I fail to see why she takes it as a personal affront that I do not appreciate my major when she experienced the same feelings at my age. She is going to rely on her wealthy friends like a parasite because she does not have a job or ambition. She makes this statement because I have affluent friends at college who sometimes assist me financially. The kindest thing a friend has ever done for me was when, during spring break last year, my friends and I went to Virginia. I shared with my friends that I had never traveled outside of North Carolina, and one friend suggested that we visit Virginia. This gesture meant a great deal to me because they did not have to make that decision, and I did not propose the idea. He did it because he genuinely cared about me and wanted me to experience something enjoyable and special. He has a partner, so this was not done out of romantic interest. He is simply a kind person who wished for me to have a new and exciting experience. I've never had a close male friend before, so this was incredibly meaningful to me. I did not take advantage of him. I informed him that I could not cover certain expenses, such as dinner, and he insisted on paying for me because he wanted me to feel included while everyone else enjoyed their meal. He was under no obligation to do anything for me, yet he chose to do so because he had organized this trip for everyone to enjoy and did not want me to worry about finances for something as simple as a meal. His actions carried immense weight for me. I believe she is truly upset and envious that I have a friend who was willing to do such a generous thing without any ulterior motive. He had no romantic feelings for me. He was not compensated to assist me. None of our friends were aware that he planned this trip, so he did not gain anything from this act of kindness. His only reward was knowing that it made me happy and that I am his friend. The hostility expressed in calling me a leech for this kind act shows her jealousy that I have a friend willing to do something like this for me. She is a loser, and all she does is irritate everyone around her. This statement solidified my thoughts. This was not a genuine argument about my shortcomings. It was merely my older sister throwing out everything she could think of to hurt me emotionally. The other points she raised at least sounded like valid criticism, but the moment she labeled me a loser and an annoyance, I realized that there was no authentic reason behind her rant. She simply views me as inferior and is unable to tolerate my existence. She perceives me as a loser. She believes I am irritating. Therefore, she cannot grasp why anyone would want to spend their time with me. Without sounding overly dramatic or self-deprecating, I do not understand why. I am uncertain why I have friends who go out of their way to help me. I do not understand why friends actively choose to spend time with me. I personally feel annoying and consider myself a loser. I already hold these beliefs about myself, yet so many people surround me regardless of my self-perception. I am so grateful beyond what words can express. My sister has confided in me about how much she detests her life. She's the eldest daughter and we are Asian Americans. I know she faced considerable challenges while growing up, and when she sought her freedom, she left our home immediately. She attended a college she despised and selected a major she was not passionate about, but it secured her employment. She is in a relationship with someone who is, to some extent, indifferent towards her. Our parents' health is deteriorating rapidly. Now she wishes to return home. I acknowledge that she is going through a difficult time, but it perplexes me why she thought it was acceptable to hurt my feelings in such a futile rant. What was supposed to be about my flaws instead sounded like she resented the fact that I have what she lacks. I assert that I believe she is envious because I am experiencing the college life she faced over a decade ago. I am enjoying my time at college and having fun with friends. Unlike her, I am not unhappy, and I think this baffles her. Adding to this is the crucial detail that she believes I will eventually annoy everyone around me and that they will abandon me, which makes it unfathomable to her why I am thriving. Regardless, I cried intensely while reading these messages. It felt as if, after believing I had faced pain in my life, all prior incidents paled in comparison. This level of anguish was unprecedented for me. My roommate and my friend witnessed my breakdown in my room, and they comforted me for hours. This was genuinely the most pain I have ever experienced in my life. And yet, my life continued to progress. I still needed to take my exams, I still had classes to attend, I still had projects to complete, I still managed to spend time with friends. It is almost amusing. I was so heartbroken and my eyes were swollen for days afterward, but gradually I began to feel better. In fact, a full week later, I was back to smiling. Of course, every time I recounted the entire story to a friend, I would still cry uncontrollably. But as long as I did not dwell on it too much, I was fine. I am writing this at the end of my spring semester. A whole semester has passed, and I can now laugh at how absurd her rant was. I cannot feel anything about it other than the realization that she wrote it with the intention of hurting my feelings and making me feel miserable. She wanted me to experience pain, and that would mean she won. However, I discussed it with my friends, and they all mentioned that at least I have moved on with my life. My sister cut me off by blocking my phone number, so I proceeded to block her on everything else and carried on with my day. Yes, she succeeded in hurting my feelings, and now she does not have to deal with me any longer. Yet here I am. I am the same person I was before and after she did this to me. This did not affect me as profoundly as she and I believed it would. I am proud of myself because I did not think I would cope with it this well, and honestly, it is probably because I had my friends supporting me throughout the entire ordeal. I doubt I could have managed this alone. I have wanted to write this post for some time, but I either ended up crying or included too many details. I needed to get this off my chest because despite claiming that I think I am over it, it still brings me to tears to this day. I am not over it. I have simply accepted the situation and the reality that my sister and I are not communicating for the foreseeable future. It saddens me. I have looked up to my older sister my entire life. She has given me a great deal of life advice, and I have followed many of her suggestions. It makes me sad that she has viewed me with disdain all this time, but it is what it is. Story 4. After 3 years of heartbreak, my 22M ex told me, "I don't even have feelings for you," just hours before my finals. I poured my soul into him, from sending him food on my last dime to dreaming of marrying him. Now I'm left heartbroken and questioning everything. How could he betray my trust like this? Hello everyone, I am writing this while crying my eyes out, so I apologize if it is not easy to understand. I am a 20-year-old female and my boyfriend is a 22-year-old male. I will start this story from the beginning. He and I met in 2018. I was 14 and he was 16. We did not get along initially and began arguing right away. We were not even friends, just two people who communicated on Snapchat to argue with each other. We never got along. After a few months of this, we blocked each other. Then one day, after a whole year of both of us blocking each other, I began to miss the toxic relationship we had, so I unblocked him and asked the universe to bring him back to me. A day later, he unblocked me. I felt relieved that I could get what I asked for so quickly. The first thing he said to me was, "I don't know, I just felt like unblocking you." We chatted for a bit, but I ghosted him because I was going through things with my ex, just a lot going on. That was in late 2022. In January of 2023, I was finally done with everything and started talking to my boyfriend. We somehow developed feelings for each other and decided to meet in March 2023. On the first day we met, I felt immediate chemistry and we kissed. We began dating on the spot. On our second meeting, I told him I was going back to London to take care of something. He thought I was going to handle family matters, but I lied to him. In reality, I wanted to go there to end my life and escape the overwhelming feelings I had. I was in a very dark place, having dropped out of school for 4 years and cut off all my friends. I was in a bad situation with everyone in my life, smoking, drinking, and taking antidepressants, just numb. I experienced derealization constantly and barely remember my teenage years. When I revealed this to him, he cried and told me he was in love with me. This was significant for me because it was the first time someone genuinely cared about me. One major dream of mine is to become a mother to at least 3 daughters. Consequently, I abandoned my plan to end my life because I believed he was serious about me. Fast forward 2 months into our relationship, he began to be really mean and disrespectful towards me. He told me that many girls wanted him and he threatened to cheat on me, among other things. He was just a very unkind person. In July, I lost my virginity to him because I thought that would convince him to marry me, and he had promised he would. We are both Middle Eastern. 2 days later, he blocked me after an argument. It was that bad. He came back and I took him back. This cycle continued for a year and a half, with him arguing and breaking up with me, only for us to get back together. I became exhausted and angry because, while I was already living in a difficult household, the person I sought for comfort became someone I avoided when he was stressed or upset, so he wouldn't make me feel worse. He persuaded me to stop my antidepressants, which led me to feel even worse, and then he would argue with me over trivial things. Eventually, after being bullied in our relationship, I became infuriated and began to argue back. However, this was all triggered by his lies, which was the final straw. When I learned about his ex and tried to contact her, she informed me they had unprotected sex and that both of them had sexually transmitted diseases, among other things. You might ask why that is a big deal. Well, it was because I asked him if he was a virgin and he had lied, saying he was. On the first day we had sex, he pretended not to know what he was doing and he did not even know where to find my anatomy. However, during our second experience, he seemed very knowledgeable, which raised my suspicions. After contacting his ex and learning about the sexually transmitted diseases, everything about him started to appear very dark. Not only was he arguing with me weekly and blocking me, but I had to beg him to take me back each time or vice versa. Each time I would return to him like a dog. After all the anger that built up over the past year 8 or 9 months, I'm not sure, I began talking to a guy on TikTok. It was not serious, I did not enjoy it. Still, I felt so betrayed by my boyfriend that I wanted to end our relationship due to his lies and the risks he put me in. I was heartbroken to know that the person I loved could do that to me. I trusted him completely. So I started talking to this other guy out of revenge, sharing nice things with him so that when my boyfriend argued with me and threatened to cheat, I could send him the screenshots to make him feel small like he made me feel. The guy from TikTok did not receive anything significant from me, just one message a day. I never added him anywhere or pursued anything. I merely offered a compliment that I did not even mean, just to annoy my boyfriend. When I sent that compliment, my boyfriend and I had broken up. My interactions with the other guy only lasted a week, with just one message each day. Then I felt guilty for doing this to him, knowing he was likely texting other girls behind my back. So I blocked that guy but forgot to delete our chat because it genuinely meant nothing to me. I was just upset after feeling betrayed and lied to. In November, I started to argue back with my boyfriend, or I actually started the argument because I was just so angry at him. We never resolved our arguments. I started insulting him just as he had insulted me. I began to diminish him. I became a horrible person just as he had been to me. He noticed this change and began to treat me better, but I could not shake off my anger. After a year and a half of him treating me this way, why was it not okay for me to respond similarly? In December 2024, he went through my phone and found the chat between me and the other guy. He flipped out, started screaming and shouting at me and broke up with me on the spot. It was terrible, and it was the first time we argued in person. I cried and explained how I felt when I discovered he had lied about such an important matter, and we argued about it for quite a while. I apologized and promised it would never happen again, even if I was upset with him. After that, in January, we were good again. In February of this year, his friends began influencing him to believe I was a bad person. From February until yesterday, he attempted to break up with me every 3 to 7 days, and I was always the one trying to bring him back. I do not know what kind of magic his friends used, but their influence was so strong that it seemed to make him lose feelings for me. Just saying that breaks my heart into pieces. Just a few hours ago, he asked me if I could take on his mother's debt of 6,160, approximately 8,167, assuring me that he would pay for it monthly over 4 months. I refused, explaining that I do not have a job in case he breaks up with me and leaves me with his mother's debt. She wants to fix her car or something. He went crazy on me, claiming he did not have feelings for me, wanted to break up and called me useless among other insults. I reminded him that he broke up with me yesterday and asked how I could trust him with that kind of money when I do not work and might leave the country in a few months. He responded that he wanted to marry me one day, but how could he do that when I do nothing for him? He truly broke my heart today. He blocked me everywhere. I tried to call him, and when he answered, he repeated the same thing I had told him, that I would not trust him. Keep in mind, he has never given me his home address because he does not trust me. He blocked me on Instagram because he doesn't trust me, so why would I trust him with an 8,000 debt? He blocked me and everything ended. 3 years wasted, I lived for him, and now he has left me. Tomorrow I have final exams and I am set to complete high school, yet he chose this moment to break up with me. I am an emotional wreck, I hate myself, and I see no point in living anymore. I cared for him as if he were my child. I am the type who would give him my last bit of money. At least once a week he would tell me he was starving and I would send him food even when it was always my last bit of money. I would deprive myself for 2 days just so he could have a meal. I have been saving coins for his birthday gift on May 26. Just hours ago, he tells me he has lost feelings for me. What in the world? My exam is tomorrow. I have physics. I hate physics, and if I do poorly or fail, I might as well end my life. I am tired of chasing after him. That is all. I cannot stop crying. I hate myself. How did I allow him to affect me this much? I had to add this to say that I truly stayed with him because of how much I love him. While many girls get with a guy for material things, my boyfriend has never even bought me flowers, yet I gave him my virginity. Everything he has given me totals around 15 for eyelashes and 50 for mascara. That is all I have received over 3 years, while I gifted him numerous things from my heart. Story 5. After my mom's affair shattered my parents' 21-year marriage, my dad vanished into a new life with Adriana, a woman with 11 kids. It's all her fault, he claims, while I scream into my pillow, mourning pets lost and a father who's become a stranger. What's next for us? I am an older teenager for clarification. This is a throwaway account. Hello everyone. This is my first time actually posting something like this on Reddit. I am usually a lurker, but my mind has been racing lately, and I have become desperate enough to post something here to express what is on my mind. My parents were married for 21 years. I never realized how unaffectionate their marriage was until my mother cheated on my father 2.5 years ago. Then all the puzzle pieces began to fall into place, and in retrospect, I can clearly see how distant they were from each other. My father slept on the couch for years. They always said it was due to his injured ankle and how much he moved in his sleep. However, I believe the fact that they were basically roommates, instead of husband and wife, also contributed to this situation. I was very angry with my mother for a while. I praised my father and naturally took his side. I will never forgive my mother for cheating on him. It was the worst possible action to take regarding their marriage. She moved out and my two older brothers and I lived with my father. My parents attempted to make their marriage work twice after that, but it never succeeded. Then my father met this woman, whom I will refer to as Adriana, through Facebook dating. She is a few years older than my mother and has 11 children, 4 of whom are much younger than me and live with her. She was a stay-at-home mother. Her only source of income was child support and disability payments. I am not being shallow, this is important. I met this woman twice. Once when my father and I stayed at her house over the weekend, and again after he tried to move my brothers, my pets, and me to her home with her other children 3 hours away. That occurred in January of 2024. I could not handle the stress and returned to live with my mother instead, bringing my pets back with me. I lived with her for almost a year, and eventually one of my brothers moved back as well. During that time, I repaired my relationship with my mother, which does not mean I condone her actions, and I started to drift away from my father. Because he changed, he began to call very infrequently, and when he did, the conversations never lasted long. I always assumed it was due to his job and his responsibilities there. That was acceptable, I did not mind. But then he eventually began to call much less, and I felt fortunate if I spoke to him once a month. November of 2024 came, and my mother received an eviction notice for our apartment, the same one I had lived in for most of my life. We had nowhere to go with all the pets, so my brother and I moved in with my grandmother and my rabbit, while my mother stayed in the apartment with my other pets, 2 dogs and 2 cats, to try to resolve the situation. It never worked out, and my mother was essentially evicted, resulting in the pets being taken by the animal shelter. That was the last time I saw them. I am a very introverted person, and I love animals, so losing my pets, including one cat I had since I was 11 years old, was extremely traumatic and devastating. I have been unable to find any information about their whereabouts or whether they are okay. My mother went to stay with my aunt, her sister, while my brother and I stayed with my grandmother. My grandmother is amazing. I love her very much, and she offers wonderful advice. I am not unhappy living here because of her. I am unhappy because I have lost nearly everything except some of my personal belongings and a portion of my family. Returning to the main reason I am making this post, my father. He blocked my mother on all platforms, including her phone number, and again he was calling very infrequently. We asked him to take the animals before my mother was evicted, and he refused. I hold him accountable for not taking them, at least the cats, because then I would have at least known where they were. He also does not pay child support for me. I recently discovered that he has been engaged to Adriana for months, and I was completely unaware. He never informed me. I had to learn it through my best friend who saw it on Facebook. That was essentially the final straw for me, prompting me to call him and engage in a 30-minute conversation. Nearly the entire call consisted of him continuously blaming my mother for various things. This is a recurring issue with both of my parents. They refuse to take accountability and constantly blame each other, so much so that it is difficult to determine what is truthful and what is not. I also told him numerous times that I wanted to speak to him privately, but he allowed Adriana into the room at some point, which I only discovered when I heard her in the background. I was extremely upset since I had specifically requested a one-on-one conversation, not a one-on-one along with Adriana. He insists that whatever is his business is also her business. However, that does not mean that what is my business is hers as well. This situation made me want to stop talking altogether, and at that moment I was crying, which is not my finest moment. He was telling me to calm down, but I just could not bear it anymore. So I said that I had expressed my feelings and he could do with them what he wished, but I did not want to talk to him if this was how it was going to be. I hung up and screamed into my pillow for about an hour. That was a while ago, but still fresh in my mind. My father recently got married, and I obviously was not invited to the wedding, neither was my brother. I probably would not attend anyway. I am not only upset with him, but I am also angry with Adriana. I do not want to judge anyone for their circumstances, but it feels as if she married him so quickly to secure financial stability. She had at least two previous relationships that resulted in numerous children, and she was not working at all during the time I knew her. It appears that since she has my father, she no longer needs to pretend to care about us. I could be irrational, but it genuinely feels like she despises us. And frankly, I dislike her as well. I intensely dislike her because it is easy to do so. I barely know her, so it is simple to make assumptions about her. She is rude and took my father away. However, it is not as easy to harbor resentment towards my father because I knew him so well. He was never a bad father, he was a very good one. But now that I am older, it feels as though he has assumed I can care for myself and that I do not need him. I need him now more than ever, but he does not make the effort to provide what I need from him. I wish I did not care so much. I wish I could just hate him so that I could move on, but I cannot, and that is what keeps me awake at night. He makes me feel as though he no longer cares and that he has a new family now. He has other people who make him happier than we ever did, so why would he need us? I do not doubt that my father loves me, at least not yet, but he really does express it in disappointing ways. I apologize for the length of this post. I needed to vent. I do not require advice or anything, just knowing that people are listening. If anyone is curious, I will be attending my first therapy session in over a year and a half on April 30th. I hope to begin moving past everything.